I searched on YouTube and I didn't really see any videos that answer this question. I've been living off grid going on 5 years now. And one of the most common questions I get is, well, what would you do in a medical emergency? I've never really responded to this question, mostly because I feel like it's not usually a sincere question. I think it's usually somebody trying to talk me or themselves out of why my lifestyle isn't for them. Well, I'm not really trying to sell my lifestyle to anybody. And personally, I'm not a what if kind of person. I do prepare. I am prepared for bad situations, but I'm not going to live in fear. What if this? What if that? But still, after getting this question so many times and always brushing it off before, I searched on YouTube and I didn't really see any videos that answer this question. And the closest to answering this question would be how to build a first aid kit, maybe getting antibiotics, maybe someone broke a bone or something and they're talking about that. But I have kind of a macro view on how to handle a medical emergency while living off grid or in a rural area, and that's what I'm going to cover in this video. In addition to that question, what would you do in a medical emergency? People also ask, well, do you have health insurance, or what do you do for health insurance? Personally, I feel like insurance is largely a scam, and 9 times out of 10, if you just save that money, if you had insurance that was $400 a month, if you just saved that $400 every month, I think 9 times out of 10, you could cover your own medical expenses. And in a rare scenario, here in the United States at least, if you did get into some wild scenario, maybe you had cancer or something, it was going to be $250,000 to get help. I think that there are a lot of programs to assist you with that. I think a lot of hospitals are willing to assist you with that. In example, they would take you in, give you the treatment, and now you need to make payments. Personally, it's just not something that disqualifies off-grid living for me. Whether you live in the city or you live off-grid, there are a lot of options to either have insurance, you can get private insurance, or to save the money and do it yourself. Everybody's seen a video on building a first aid kit, so there's that. There's having antibiotics and whatnot. But the number one most important thing to preventing a medical emergency off-grid is health. If you look at the leading causes of death in the United States, it's heart disease, cancer, diabetes, accidents, all-encompassing accidents. So don't fall. Be careful. Don't fall from a roof. Don't get in a car accident. Those are the main things that cause death. Most of those, including COVID, Alzheimer's, diabetes, most of those can be heavily prevented or largely prevented by having good health, eating healthy, and working out 30 minutes every day. This is your best insurance prevention. Prevent yourself from dying. Prevent yourself. If you're obese, well, you're probably going to have some trouble whether you live in the city or off-grid or rurally. No matter what, that's going to be a problem. And having good health and a good diet, that's going to really alleviate a lot of those issues. All of that aside, you may still get hurt living off-grid or rurally. And what do you do? Well, guess what? 9 times out of 10, you can just take care of it yourself. Here's a CDC statistic that only roughly 13% of emergency room visits result in a hospital admission. That goes to show you that roughly 87% of the visits are kind of frivolous, where it would be like, hey, here's a Band-Aid or here's some advice, have a good day. And so most emergency room visits could just be taken care of at home. I've been out here going on 5 years, and I probably work harder than a lot of people and maybe a little faster than I should sometimes. And I've broken 4 bones. I've been bitten by one of my dogs because I got between 2 of them. It was very deep. All 4 bones, I just set them myself, just fingers and toes. I just set them and forget them basically. And it hurts for a month and then it's done. I didn't need pain pills. I didn't need a cast. I didn't need to visit a doctor. I didn't need advice. Now, if you get like a large spiral fraction or your femur breaks, you're going to probably need some help. But my point is most of the time you can set your own little bone breaks, fractures. Most of the time you can clean out your own incision or cut or laceration and sew it up if you need to. Or now they have the little tape sutures. It's really quite easy, guys. If you clean it out well, close it, you'll be fine. You just have to clean it out. There's a lot of people in the state of Arizona, and only about 147 rattlesnake bites happen annually that the AZPDIC help hospital staff manage. So that's quite a small percentage of the population are getting bit. And guess what? 25% of those bites happen in somebody's garden. And so, that's not accounting for the rest of the city. And so it's damn near like you're no more likely to get bit living rurally than you are in the city. And the trick is to just be careful and safe. I've had a couple rattlesnakes on my property. Most of the time they'll rattle within 20 feet, and so most of the time they're just going to let you know they're there. Most of the time they're not trying to bother you. You just need to be careful and attentive that, you're not shoving your hands into places in the garden and stuff that you don't normally. And the truth is I keep, I need food, water, and shelter to survive, and so do rattlesnakes. If you keep the brush under your trees all cleaned up, you're not spilling food and leaving mice everywhere. If you're keeping a pretty clean environment, you have a busy homestead, there's going to be less places for these rattlesnakes to hide and whatnot. And if you have gopher snakes like I do, keep them around. I'm very happy to have a nest of gopher snakes. I have a nest of them in one of my hugelkulturs. I have, believe, a nest of them under my shop. Doesn't bother me one bit. They eat mice, and they will actually fight and sometimes kill a rattlesnake. It just hasn't been a real big problem for me. Like I said, I think for the most part when people bring this up, they're trying to talk me or themselves out of living rurally. Or, I often get an argument that like, oh, so you live off grid, like you don't pay mortgage, you raise most of your food. Okay, I can see that you're happy, you love your lifestyle. Oh yeah? Well, you have to pay property tax, and if you put that on a scale, like super happy life, no mortgage, you're saving thousands and thousands and thousands, you got to spend a couple $100 a year, like one doesn't cancel out the other. And I think it's the same kind of argument. What would you do in a medical emergency? And what ifs can really just lead you to more drama than reality. Most of the time you're going to be just fine, just like all of our ancestors that homesteaded and never had a hospital to go to, and 9 times out of 10, I could drive all the way. It's over a 2-hour drive for me to get to a hospital. But even if I broke my femur, I could probably drive myself to the hospital with my other leg. In an emergency, I could put on my flashers, I could call somebody, hey, can you help me? And just start going. And if someone could help me, they could help me. If not, I can probably make it safely to a hospital, even if I broke my femur. It's just quite a drive. And someone asked me, just recently, what would you do? Oh yeah, what would you do in this situation? And I'm just like, I may die. I think they wanted me to argue with them, and I just said, I may die, and that's okay. And it's not that I want to die, but I'm not going to be living in fear about it. The truth is, 42,000 people died, roughly 42,000 people in 2022 in car accidents. And you're just far more likely to die in the city from a car accident or any other accident than you are really living rurally. There are things that could happen living rurally. It could happen, but the odds are pretty slim if you're careful. Try not to work 2 stories in the air. A fall would be one of the most common accidents that could kill somebody. So be really careful. And if I have a water tower, when I go up on the water tower, I take my time and I remind myself, okay, slow down. Take your time. Take the steps carefully. Don't get complacent, because you could step backwards and fall through the manhole, and that could injure you. You still probably wouldn't die falling off of a 20-foot water tower, but just slow down. Slow down. You can afford yourself to slow down a little bit, work carefully and whatnot. And then 9 times out of 10, you'll be just fine. You can make it to the hospital. On top of all that, you can call somebody, you might be able to get some help that way. And worst case, the very worst case, maybe I do have a stroke one day, and maybe I can't get onto the phone, and maybe I can't get help, and I might die. And that's okay, guys. That's okay. I don't know why you would worry your whole life away for something that's probably never going to happen. But be at peace with the fact that you're going to die anyway. At some point in your life, you're going to die. Everyone's going to. Don't worry about it every day. Don't consume yourself with that worry. Actually, stressing over it would probably be more likely to kill you than to just live a fulfilling, happy life, enjoy yourself, live off grid, enjoy the fact that you don't need to pay mortgage. If you do decide to finance your building your house and pay a small mortgage, just be happy with that. Be happy creating most of your own food, offsetting the cost of living maybe a little more freely, getting into better health, working for yourself, enjoying nature. There's just way too many wonderful things that, what if this, what if that, it's really just not going to offset the wonderfulness of off-grid living. And that's just the way I see it. I've been living off-grid going on 5 years now. When I came out here, I weighed 365 pounds. I was morbidly obese, over 50% fat. Today, I'm about 207 pounds, 27% fat. I've lost about 160 pounds. Every single day, I take my black powder tonic, which is beet powder, turmeric powder, ginger powder, diatomaceous earth, black pepper for paparin, and this has helped me regulate my blood pressure, get it back to a normal level. It's really helped me improve my health. There's nothing like it on the market, guys. And the only thing that's even close to it, I charge half of what they charge. It's something I create here on the homestead. If you're into your health, you want to support my homestead, go check out my black powder tonic. Save 15% with code FRUGALOFFGRID. And I'll catch you guys on the next video.